If you haven't seen the previous video in this series, follow the link on your screen or click the link in the description or pinned comment below.
Seconds of logos
Is less than 50 seconds of logos.
So how much do you have to hate yourself to become the best assassin in the world?
Sinning Pai Mei's techniques.
We once again have to worry about whether or not a dog is going to die in one of these movies, and I'm fucking tired of all these movies giving me this much anxiety.
You mean the same dog that's now been in 3 movies at this point? I'm fairly certain the films have no intention of killing any more dogs, my dude. But what I find interesting is the fact you care more about the dog dying than the hundreds of people that die in this film. People that care more about dogs than their fellow human actively disgust me.
So Wick is riding after 3 people here who seem very afraid of him, and that's fair. I would be afraid of him too. But he's going after the Elder. That's the only guy above the high table. Why doesn't his security and he himself even keep an Uzi on hand at all times?
We are shown in these movies that there are times people aren't allowed to have guns on them. Given that we aren't shown the beginning of this chase, I think it's safe to assume these people were in a situation where they either weren't allowed to keep weapons or were simply caught off guard. As for the Elder, that's just a stupid question. John Wick is the only person to ever threaten an Elder. There's no need for him to keep a weapon.
And the only way John Wick will ever have freedom or peace now or ever is in death.
High table shadowing. Chekhov's peace and freedom. Wait, this guy. Like they would ever kill John Wick.
Unless you think he means in a metaphorical way, this ain't foreshadowing, because John is still alive after the events of this movie. Lionsgate just confirmed John Wick 5 is being developed, and I don't think the movie would be named that if he were dead, just saying.
How do you travel with an hourglass and a briefcase and pull it out with all the sand on one side? That defies physics.
We aren't actually shown if every single grain of sand is on one side, Jeremy. But if you've ever actually seen a real hourglass sitting on its side, you'd see that the sand sits below the midpoint, meaning it's possible for not much of the sand to travel over to the other bulb.
Get a load of this tiny penis office. Holy shit. Have you ever seen an office more interested in convincing you that its occupier has a huge dick? That's a 4-story glass window wall right there, with motorized shutters. This entire room is easily 5,000 square feet. Shouldn't everyone want to kill this f***er?
I'm not even sure this is the Frenchman's office, considering he's based out of France. You know, because he's French? Seems more like a building the high table does business in, no? Also, Jeremy plays the woman game of criticizing someone's dick size. Unless you're the G or B in LGB, that is of no concern to you, my G. Also, Jeremy says boner.
My father used to say, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Pennywise's morphing abilities made so much more sense than what Barbarian just said. In fact, the plot of Barbarian made more sense.
You really don't understand that saying? How you do anything is how you do everything. It means if you half-ass one aspect of your life, you're probably half-assing everything. The point is that you should build the habit of giving everything you do 100%.
Second chances are the refuge of men who fail.
Sure, but don't all men fail?
Everyone fails, but not everyone who fails is a failure.
Having 2 receptionists with no way to tell which one is the boss of the other one.
Exactly.
Why did they print John Wick's name in Braille on a card and make him read it instead of just using words to say John Wick out loud? They're not trying to keep the name hidden from all the hench people in this room. They go on to talk about him openly the rest of the movie.
Because his personal system is predicated on having these cards? Because this is a common trope in assassin fiction, one that you literally saw in the Bullet Train video? Because this was cooler?
She stays in your room.
However, I'm just going to hand you a room key and not tell you what room you're in and hope you can figure it out yourself. All the high-profile hotels do this, I promise.
Have you ever been to a hotel? The room key usually comes in a little envelope with the room number and Wi-Fi password on it. This is the Birdman chiming in with an editor's note. Most hotels do give you the envelope in Japan, but this is footage of me in Kyoto, which is, generally speaking, the same area as Osaka, otherwise known as the Kansai region. This particular room card didn't come in anything, but then again, it was dispensed by a robot.
If there's an open contract on Wick, then why did Kane have to be pulled out of retirement and hired specifically to kill John Wick?
Technically, Wick's contract was never closed since Winston didn't really kill him. Even if that weren't the case, this is just covering your ass. This is the Baba Yaga we're talking about. He's quite literally taken out a small army of assassins by himself, so the more people you get in on this, the more people he's gonna kill.
君の安らぎを見つけたのか。
I thought this guy knew John Wick really well.
Yeah, which is why he says,
Apparently not. Friendship means little when it's convenient.
That sounds deep, but I'm not sure it is. Plenty of friendships are formed out of sheer convenience, like with coworkers and neighbors.
those aren't really friendships. You literally described entirely different forms of relationships. You can be friendly with your coworkers and neighbors, but that doesn't mean you are friends. You have to actually be friends with those people, and then they'd cease being coworkers and neighbors and just become friends.
I almost made a crack earlier about how huge the kitchen is, but now I see that it is both a kitchen and a weapons depot.
Continuing the tradition of not understanding the criminal underworld of John Wick Episode 4.
Even with the higher ground advantage, this is still a bad case of bringing bows and arrows to a gunfight.
The Japanese do things their own way. If you've ever been to Japan, that sentence hits different, trust me.
Get out.
I love that Koji thinks this will work, but also, Koji thinks this will work.
Jeremy sends something he loves cliche.
Oh no, it's the grabber!
They don't even look remotely the same, so Jeremy makes a pop culture
Why does everyone in this movie have bulletproof clothing, but the SWAT-type guys wear Halloween masks that are incredibly un-bulletproof and un-arrowproof?
The helmets and masks are bulletproof. You're showing evidence of that. In order to kill them, they've been going for neck and eye shots. They still react to being shot in the head because, well, they're being shot in the head. Bullets travel at around the speed of sound. Anything coming at you at that speed definitely hurts.
The doorbell devices Kane uses are a fun gimmick, but A, he didn't need them when he fought everyone prior to this moment, and B, he never uses them again.
Because A, this was the perfect situation for them, being an area he was unfamiliar with, and B, maybe he ran out? Do you really think he thought he wouldn't kill John in this outing? Why would he have more?
Only Donnie Yen could make a live-action version of the Popeye punch work. Even the movie Popeye couldn't pull this off, and now you've made me...
Jeremy sends this scene and something he likes.
Does she really need to stab him this many? Why did you take up 50% of your staircase with f***ing pulsing neon light fixtures?
It's actually about 40%, since we're nitpicking and all.
I appreciate the aesthetic beauty of this fight scene, but why does this room exist? Why are there dozens of partial boxes of glass extraordinarily lit by inlaid neon bulbs? Some of the room has museum shit in it, but most of it is this empty shit. Like, do you think you're gonna grow into this space over time? And even if you do, why are you only building half the cubes needed to house your future museum shit?
So this fool recognizes that this place is housing art, yet fails to recognize that the light squares are art themselves? I mean, he said he appreciates the beauty of it and doesn't understand the irony of the statement.
Those are called f*** you bullets.
No, those are called double tapping.
This is a really well done action sequence, but it's also a lot of wash, rinse, repeat. This movie has no business being almost 3 hours. You could have cut this scene in half and it still would have been the same amount of awesome.
No, the f*** it wouldn't. CinemaSins, ladies and gentlemen. Proof that the motherfuckers that think they can make movies better than filmmakers should have a seat. Them and whoever made Spider-Man Lotus.
Kind of a bitch move for Kane to wait until Wick is already battle depleted to attack him.
I mean, the dude is blind. He was probably in a small square room thinking he was in the elevator. I don't know.
John? Kane.
Abel.
Rufus.
All the glass in here is bulletproof, like they expected gunfights.
But it's not? Those rounds are clearly traveling through the glass. You're just upset the glass doesn't completely shatter, but that doesn't mean they're bulletproof.
John. Kane.
Abel.
Rufus.
I don't really understand what they are basing the monetary value of each bounty on, but I find it hard to believe that if they have any get up to 20 million, that they would ever have a bounty set as low as 15K. Did that guy just jaywalk?
I swear you don't even think normal thoughts. You just let the intrusive thoughts run wild, don't you? Why wouldn't they have a variety of bounties, dude? You know the FBI had a bounty on Bin Laden worth $50 million, right? The bounty on this dude is so low they don't even advertise it.
I'd give all the sins back right now if the gator from X and Pearl swam up and chomped these motherfuckers like they were breakfast tacos.
No, you wouldn't.
I'll be waiting for you.
I appreciate how many of this movie's characters know exactly what their fates will be. I'm envious, actually.
You sure? Because I can answer that question for you.
What are the odds this gal ends up here on this same train car as Wick? I'm being serious.
Well, I actually calculated the odds, and it's the square root of 12 multiplied by the hypotenuse of nobody gives a fuck.
My father is dead because of you.
Oversimplification.
But also, literally the truth. Kane doesn't kill her father if he wasn't given Wick's name.
They fail to see how laying waste to Continentals is getting you closer to killing John Wick.
This campaign is not to kill John Wick. It is to kill the idea of John Wick.
He is doing an odd accent that does not feel natural, and I am scrutinous.
I'm just curious, but why did you have to play Mr. Krabs' line there? I feel like you could have saved more time by just playing Bill's line. Oh, that's right. Padding the runtime. Got it.
Also, how does blowing up hotels kill the idea of John Wick? If anything, it seems like you're just creating more John Wicks, since you're giving a lot more people the same sense of desperation that Wick has.
What? That's an incredible misunderstanding of this scene. Killing the idea of John Wick means bringing down consequences so severe that no one will ever think of doing what John has done. I mean, he got not one, but 2 Continentals destroyed, dude. Come the hell on.
How were you able to locate him?
I don't understand why nobody's ability to locate John Wick matters to Marquis. He already has Kane hired to take John out, and Kane had no issue tracking him down.
Kane has history with Wick. He's curious how nobody found him without that prior knowledge.
Winston. Jonathan.
Abel.
Rufus, is it?
Yes, Rufus it is. It's usually long Rufus, but it's a little cold out here, you understand.
Challenge him to single combat.
That's a thing he can do? Do you realize how many times prior to now he could have used that fucking advice? God, you are a dick.
Yeah, that's one of those things I didn't like about this movie. They basically invented a way for John to get out of his predicament after they painted themselves into a corner based on the prior rules that were established. I love this movie. In fact, I gave it an A+, but this is an obvious ass pull.
I don't like these folks here. They have an entire room just for judging and slowly hanging people.
The Ukrainians don't like him either.
And the crest.
Harkan first, then we talk.
Awesome, another side quest. F the length of this movie.
I want a John Wick movie to be shorter is worth these many sins.
Movies have a long, sad history of giving villains disabilities, and the John Wick franchise continues that tradition with asthma jokes.
The reason Jeremy created disabled superheroes makes it into the script.
4 9s and a 4.
I know Kane is an amazing individual, but the cards aren't Braille, and he's blind, so there is no way he would know what he had.
These are the cards used in this scene. For the sake of this video, I bought these cards. My original assumption was that these cards might have a slight embossing on the face side, but it turns out that they don't. That may or may not be the case in the universe the film is set in. However, I'd be willing to bet his sense of touch is far more advanced than mine, so maybe there is an embossing that I just can't feel. Now, that's just my explanation, and I'm sure the movie is simply saying he's the blind weapon master trope, or he may only have partial blindness. Who cares? The point of this is that he's a badass.
Fire flash.
What the f? I have poker friends that will come burn my house down if I don't stop here and thrash this shit. The odds of a royal flush are 649,739 to 1.
Great. You spent 9 seconds telling us that it's not impossible.
Slicing someone's neck open with a playing card.
Jeremy points out things on the screen cliche, because it's definitely possible to cut someone with a card even though he thinks John sliced his neck completely open, which he didn't.
Kill! He yells kill, and the dog beelines directly to one specific henchperson. Not the club owner, not John Wick, not Kane, just a random dude.
Jeremy points out things on the screen cliche, because nobody wasn't specific who the dog should kill.
So what voice command would he have to give the dog to get it to attack a specific person? Or does he just always let the dog decide its own victims?
I'd assume that usually when he gives this order, it's for the person directly in front of nobody or the dog, probably because often there aren't that many people in a room when he gives the order.
John Wick, and more importantly his back, survives this. The suit stops bullets, but I don't think it has any built-in spinal fracture repair capabilities.
Well, the reason he does survive this is because he landed on that pillar. If anything, his back broke the worst fall and potentially saved his life.
Also, imagine having your nuts gnawed on right before you got shot in the head.
Jeremy sends something he likes cliche?
I'm not sure I understand how a gold tooth would prove that John killed Harkin.
So you don't understand how collecting one of Harkin's most prominent features proves he killed him? Do you think they think John freaking Wick would pretend to kill someone? Dude, get a CAT scan ASAP.
Why do so many groups and societies require pain as part of entry? I think that says a ton about our nature, and also the reason we want to belong to groups, and what our base self-esteem says about us.
Discounting the fact that a burn scar is a permanent marking on the body that can't be easily removed, thereby signaling his allegiance, pain signifies true belief. If you're willing to suffer pain to get something, it means you really believed in it. This is why we respect natural athletes that are in shape and shame Lizzo.
These guys play the most confusing game of dominoes I've ever seen in my life.
That's because you have the attention span of a grain of rice. They're flipping over tablets with numbers on them. Whoever flips the higher number gets to determine one aspect of the duel, and they flip multiple times until all the rules are decided.
You are a killer.
Aren't they all, though? That's kind of what this whole f***ing organization is about. This is not nearly as profound a statement as the Marquis thinks it is. I'm having a really hard time understanding why he was sent by the table to fix anything. He eats cake and sips coffee really well, though.
Is something someone would say when they remove the scene from its context. His point is that John thinks he can live a peaceful life, as we saw him try to do that in the first movie. But because he is a killer, he will never be out, so the Marquis wins either way. That's the point.
A nomination.
This is right.
The f*** you say? The old rule allows the duel, but also allows the challenged to substitute someone for himself or herself? I could understand if said party was injured or seriously ill, but there's nothing wrong with the Marquis. Why does he get this kind of out?
Again, you are not paying attention. John's purpose for this duel is to end the contract on his head, not necessarily to kill the Marquis. That he got to kill the Marquis is an added bonus, but ultimately, John is seeking his freedom, which is the purpose of the duel.
Trusting your fate to a blind man?
Tell me you've never seen Kane fight without telling me you've never seen Kane fight.
Dude, you made me buy playing cards just to shut you up. You shouldn't be talking.
I have a feeling Mr. Wick will never make it to the duel by sunrise.
Cheating!
Not really. John still has a contract on his head. These are the rules the High Table has set forth, and we saw exactly the same thing in the previous movie. It's not cheating if it's in the rules.
Also, if Wick has requested the duel and the duel has been accepted, how can the Marquis still raise the marker for Wick and send more hitmen after him? That doesn't seem like it would be fair or go along with the old law.
This is literally the same sin as the previous one. This is what I mean by padding the sin count, bro.
Loving husband. That's what I want on mine.
John tells Winston what he wants on his tombstone, even though if John loses the duel or gets killed before, Winston will be in a grave right beside him and unable to follow through on John's request.
That being the case, he's clearly saying in the context of him having won the duel but dying at a later date.
John is able to hit all these men even though half of them are actually behind car doors and or in their cars, but John doesn't get hit by one of them even though they all have clear shots at him since he's missing the driver's door on his car.
One or both of these things is happening here. One, John is a much better shot than these guys, which is very likely, or two, they are hitting him and John is wearing a bulletproof suit.
Now, who's gonna be our big winner?
I would give all the sins back if someone answered this with Mikey. Mikey's the big winner.
No, you wouldn't.
Sure, there are cuts in this fight scene, but not 3 per second. The film lingers on shots for several seconds before cutting. Why can't Marvel do this? This sin is for Marvel.
But you gave it to John Wick 4.
I'm ready to call it. John Wick's bulletproof suit is an unfair advantage.
John fights no less than 10,000 humans in this movie. There's no way giving him a suit that helps him against overwhelming odds is unfair.
You can't shoot me.
Why can't he? What are the fucking rules?
Do you see what I mean about how the movie gives CinemaSins the rules and they still complain about not having the rules? And if this movie took the approach of actually explaining said rules, he'd whine about exposition.
30 paces.
Considering they don't get the bullet until they've walked 30 paces and are in the right spot, why not just start in that spot and save the 30 paces bullshit?
What even is this question? Start in what spot? The spot that is 30 paces away? Wouldn't they still have to walk the 30 paces to get there anyway? And if you meant the spot where they were closest, have you ever seen a duel? Like, ever? And if you meant cut the scene of them walking, wouldn't you send the film for not showing the 30 paces? I'm giving you a sin for all these potential meanings to your dumb question.
Abel.
Kane.
And I'm being introduced to people and standing, getting a drink and all that. And the hostess is standing over there, and she's looking at me rather nastily. And she went, so I went over her, and she said, "Are you a drug dealer?" I said, "No. Why do you ask?" She said, "Why is everybody calling you my cocaine?"
It makes for a better shot for all the grass to be green, but this means that these two planned to meet here months after John was buried, which seems odd.
Or that's clear evidence that John isn't dead and that this tombstone is likely metaphorical. Wink, wink. That's because you have the attention span of a grain of rice. The lines in this fucking video. Jeremy makes a pop culture reference. I'm just going to cut myself off there. I'm not even going to say the whole thing. I should say the whole thing. Let's try it. They don't even look remotely the same, so Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the film cliche. So if you'd like to see behind the scenes footage like that, join channel memberships today. For as low as $1 a month, you gain access to all these perks, and those in the True Believer tier will be able to request everything wrong with videos. The link to join is in the description and the pinned comment in the comment section.